My best friend said, "Your girlfriend wants me. Step aside." I replied, "She's all yours." Then I showed her his text scheming behind her back. 30 minutes later, he was frantically calling me, begging me to call her off after she exposed him in our group chat and pressed charges. I, 28 male, am, or rather was, the kind of guy who believed in loyalty above all else. 15 years of friendship with Henry, 28, felt like a bank vault of shared history, trust, and inside jokes. We weren't just friends, we were brothers in every way that mattered. Which is why, when he sat across from me in my own living room last Tuesday, swirling the last of a craft beer in his glass, his words didn't just sting, they vaporized the reality I thought I was living in. "Look, man," he began, leaning forward with that smug, conspiratorial grin he gets when he thinks he's about to do you a favor. "There's no easy way to say this. Maria wants me. She's been dropping hints for weeks. It's intense." Maria, 27. My Maria. The woman I was building a future with. The one who knew about my anxieties, who loved my terrible cooking, who I was planning to propose to in a few months. I just stared at him, the sound in the room narrowing to a sharp buzz in my ears. My first instinct was a jolt of white-hot rage, a primal urge to launch myself across the coffee table and wipe that grin off his face. But it was followed by a wave of something colder and more nauseating: confusion. He took my stunned silence as weakness. "I know it's rough, but you have to see it from my perspective. The chemistry is insane. You and her, it's comfortable, sure, but this is fire. I think it's time for you to just step aside. For her happiness, you know? For her happiness." The audacity of it was breathtaking. Every joke at my expense, every subtle one-up, every time his hand lingered on her back a second too long, it all started replaying in my mind, but this time in a sickening new context. The rage was still there, but a strange, cold calm began to form on the surface. A defense mechanism. I decided, in that split second, not to give him the satisfaction of a fight. "Okay," I said, my voice unnervingly steady. Henry blinked, the wind clearly taken out of his sails. "Okay? That's it?" "Yeah, man," I said, meeting his gaze. "If she wants you, she wants you. Can't stand in the way of fire, right? She's all yours." He looked genuinely stunned, and for a moment I saw a flicker of disappointment. The predator who was hoping for a bloody chase and was instead handed the prey on a platter. Cool, that's really mature of you, man." He stood up, puffing his chest out. "I knew you'd understand." "I do," I said, walking him to the door. "Completely." The moment the door clicked shut, I didn't punch a wall. I leaned against it, my legs feeling weak. The calculated calm evaporated, leaving only the hollow ache of betrayal. After a minute, I picked up my phone. My hands were shaking. "Me, hey, you free? Something's happened. We need to talk, face to face." "Of course, on my way." "Everything okay?" "You're scaring me." "Me, I'm not sure. Just get here." She arrived 20 minutes later, her face etched with concern. The first thing she saw was my expression. "Aaron, what is it? What's wrong?" I told her, my voice flat, relaying the conversation with Henry verbatim. Her face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions. Confusion, disbelief, a flash of anger. "He said what?" she asked, her voice tight. "That I want him? That's insane. Why would he say that?" Then a flicker of suspicion crossed her face, a look that wounded me more than anything Henry had said. "What's going on, Aaron? Is this some kind of fight between you two that I'm being dragged into?" And there it was, the messy reality. She didn't know who to believe. Henry had been my best friend for 15 years, his word against mine. "He told me," she continued, her voice trembling slightly, "that he was worried about you, that you've been distant, and that he was just trying to be a good friend to both of us. He's been texting me, checking in." The poison was already there. He'd been laying the groundwork for weeks. "Maria, he's been playing us both," I said, my voice pleading. "He's a liar." "Then prove it," she challenged, tears welling in her eyes. "Because right now, my boyfriend is telling me my best friend is a monster, and I don't know what to believe." My heart sank. Then, a memory surfaced. A conversation from about a year ago, so repulsive it had seared itself into my brain. I started scrolling frantically through my chat history with Henry, my thumb flying. It took me nearly 10 minutes of desperate searching through memes, plans, and nonsense. And then I found it. It was a screenshot of a text Henry had sent me, a cropped but identifiable private photo of a woman we both knew from college. His text above it read, "Dude, you gotta see this. So desperate. Thinks she can get me to help her with her startup. LMAO." My reply at the time had been simple: "This is seriously messed up. Delete it." I had saved a screenshot of that specific exchange because, in that moment, I'd felt a genuine line had been crossed. I never imagined I'd need it like this. I handed the phone to Maria. She stared at it, her face going from pale to stone. She scrolled up and down, reading my horrified reply and his dismissive one. This was concrete. This wasn't my word against his. This was his character, in his own words, on the screen. The foundation of his lies crumbled in an instant. He told me you were the one who had a problem," she whispered. "That you were objectifying women and he was trying to get you to see how messed up it was. He used this exact situation as an example of your bad behavior." The sheer diabolical depth of his betrayal was finally laid bare. He hadn't just lied, he'd inverted reality. Maria looked up and the tears were gone, replaced by a cold, hard fire. "So he thinks I want him? And you said I'm all his?" "I did," I confirmed. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. "Okay, let's give him what he wants." She pulled out her phone, opened our main friend group chat, all 30 of us, and started typing. She uploaded the screenshot I'd just shown her. Then she wrote a caption. "Maria, hey everyone, just wanted to clear the air on something. Henry just informed Aaron that I want him and that Aaron should step aside. So I wanted to make my choice public. Henry, you're right. I choose you. I choose the man who shares women's private photos behind their backs to feel like a big shot, see attached. I choose the man who has been manipulating my relationship for months, projecting his own disgusting behavior onto Aaron to try and isolate me. So you got me. I'm all yours. By the way, I'll be filing a police report for harassment tomorrow morning. Can't wait for our fire connection." She hit send. We sat in silence. 30 seconds passed. Then my phone began to vibrate on the coffee table. A call from Henry. I ignored it. It immediately rang again. Ignored. Then a text. "Henry, call me right now." "What did you do?" "Call her off." Maria looked at the frantic messages. "He started it," she said. I just nodded. "I know." The phone kept buzzing, a frantic dying wasp on the table. We just watched it go. Update 1. The last week has been a surreal blend of chaos and quiet resolve. Thank you for the support. It's validating to know we're not the crazy ones here. The group chat was a nuclear bomb. It didn't unite everyone against Henry. It shattered the group completely, and the fallout has been messy. For every message of support for Maria, there was another expressing confusion or disapproval. Friend, whoa, Maria, this is pretty extreme. I get you're mad, but posting this publicly is a lot. Friend B. There are two sides to every story. Henry is a good guy. This feels like a hit job. Friend C, can we please handle this privately? My phone is blowing up, and this is just drama. The woman from the screenshot came forward in the chat, thanking Maria and confirming Henry was a creep. That solidified things for some, but others had already left the group, wanting no part of the drama. We lost friends. People we've known for years are either siding with Henry or have just ghosted us to avoid the mess. It's a lonely feeling. Henry's frantic calls and texts continued for 2 days. They were a masterclass in narcissistic deflection. Not once did he say, "I'm sorry for what I did." It was always, "Look what you've made me go through," or "You're ruining my life over a misunderstanding." And the classic, "After 15 years of friendship, you owe me your silence." He genuinely believes that our shared history is a blank check for him to behave however he wants, without consequence. On Wednesday, we went to the courthouse to file for a restraining order. It was a humiliating, soul-crushing experience. We spent hours filling out forms under fluorescent lights, detailing the harassment, printing out the texts, the screenshot, everything. We were granted a temporary restraining order, TRO, with a court date set in 3 weeks to determine if it would be made permanent. It felt less like a victory and more like a grim, necessary procedure. The entitlement, it turns out, is a family trait. Henry's mom called me on Thursday. "I don't know what kind of sick game you and that little tramp are playing," she shrieked, "but you are destroying my son. He has been put on administrative leave from his job. They're investigating him, all because of your lies." The administrative leave was a key detail. He wasn't fired. He was in limbo, and they were panicking. He is a good boy, she continued. He told me everything. He was just trying to check on your girlfriend to make sure she was okay after you had a fight. And she twisted it. You need to tell her to drop this ridiculous court case and post an apology for slandering my son. I stayed silent, letting her words hang in the air. Ma'am, I finally said, my voice flat. Henry's actions are his own. Everything we stated in that chat and in our court filing is documented and true. This conversation is over. I hung up before she could reply. Maria and I have consulted with a lawyer. She was professional, sharp, and did not salivate. Her name was Miss Joyce, and she laid out the reality. This would be a long, draining, and expensive process. The harassment case is strong, she said, but we need to be prepared for a fight. We are. This isn't about a satisfying, clean victory anymore. It's about surviving the storm and seeing it through to the end. Update 3. The wheels of justice grind slowly, and they grind you down a bit in the process. The TRO hearing was 3 weeks after my last post. It was as awful as we imagined. Henry was there with his parents and a lawyer. He looked pale and resentful. His lawyer tried to paint Maria as an unstable, jealous ex-friend. They twisted their platonic friendship into some kind of unrequited love on her part, and me as a manipulative puppet master. But we had the evidence, the texts, the screenshot, the sheer volume of his frantic, demanding messages after the group chat post. The judge wasn't impressed with his defense. We were granted a 1-year civil harassment restraining order. A small victory, but a crucial one. Henry's father approached me in the courthouse parking lot afterward. He didn't yell like his wife. His method was quieter, more insidious. Aaron, he said, his voice calm and reasonable. This has gone far enough. Think about your future. You're a smart kid, you have a good career. Reputations are fragile things. A public court case, accusations, it gets messy. People in your industry talk. It would be a shame for your professional life to be impacted by a boy-girl squabble. It was a threat wrapped in a silk handkerchief. He was implying they would start rumors at my workplace, try to damage my career as retaliation. I just looked at him. Are you trying to intimidate a witness, Mr. Davies? I asked, my voice just as quiet as his, because my lawyer is right over there, and I'm sure she'd be very interested in this conversation. He paled, the mask of civility dropping. He just turned and walked away. The smear campaign continued, but with less success. The court's decision gave our story credibility. Still, it cost us. The legal fees are piling up. The emotional toll is immense. We feel isolated. We've had to block a dozen former friends. Every social interaction feels fraught with tension, wondering who knows what, who believes whom. This is the reality of justice. It's not a triumphant movie scene. It's a war of attrition. Final update. I haven't posted in a long time. The last several months were a quiet, tense crawl toward the finish line. The criminal case for harassment and the illegal distribution of intimate images was moving forward, separate from the restraining order. As the court date approached, Henry's desperation hit a new, despicable low. He must have known his legal options were exhausted. So he resorted to pure psychological terrorism. Maria started getting DMs on Instagram from anonymous accounts. They were vicious, calling her every name in the book. Then they got specific. One message mentioned her deepest medical insecurity, a private health issue she'd struggled with a year ago, something she had told only her mother, me, and Henry, during a moment of vulnerability when she had leaned on him as a friend. He was using her pain as a last-ditch weapon to try and break her, to intimidate her into dropping the case. It was the act of a true monster. A final confirmation that the person we knew was gone, replaced by this venomous creature. It didn't break her. It forged her resolve into steel. That act of cruelty was his final mistake. Our lawyer, armed with this new evidence of witness intimidation, went to the prosecutor. The DA's office informed Henry's lawyer that if this case went to trial, they would be seeking the maximum penalty, including jail time. A week later, a plea offer arrived. Henry would plead guilty to misdemeanor harassment and unlawful distribution of intimate images. The prosecutor's proposed terms, developed in consultation with us, were harsh. 2 years of probation, a significant fine, a year-long batterer's intervention program, and a new 10-year restraining order. We accepted. A trial would have been traumatic, and a guilty plea is a conviction. It's a permanent mark on his record. The day in court was quiet and gray. Henry stood before the judge, a hollowed-out version of the man I once knew. He read his admission of guilt from a piece of paper in a monotone. There was no emotion, just the sullen compliance of a man who had finally run out of moves. His parents were there. His mother cried silently. His father stared at the wall. I felt nothing for them. Life since then has been calm. The 10-year restraining order is a shield. I heard he was eventually let go from his job and now works somewhere in logistics, still living at home. Our old social circle is a ghost. We've built a new one, smaller and more genuine. Maria and I got engaged last month. On a quiet beach, just us. The future is ours again. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. It was from Henry. It was a rambling, self-pitying mess about our brotherhood and his one stupid mistake. It ended with, "Can you ever forgive me?" For a moment I felt that old rage flare. I walked to the kitchen, my hand tightening around the envelope, my first thought being to burn it and be done with him forever. But then I stopped. That would be an emotional reaction, and I was done giving him my emotions. The old Aaron would have burned it. The new Aaron, the one who spent months documenting everything, knew better. This letter was a violation of a 10-year restraining order. It was evidence. I didn't burn it. I showed it to Maria. We looked at it, this pathetic final attempt to get a reaction. "Are you going to send it to the police?" she asked. I thought about it for a long time. I could cause him more trouble, get his probation violated. But what would that achieve? It would just keep him in our lives. "No," I said finally. I walked over to the small fireproof safe where we kept our important documents. I opened it and placed the letter inside, right next to the file containing copies of the restraining order and all the other evidence we'd collected. I'm not forgiving him. Forgiveness is for people who feel remorse, not regret at being caught. But I'm not pursuing him either. I'm just prepared. The best revenge isn't a fiery, satisfying explosion. It's the quiet, cold power of knowing you've won, you're safe, and you hold all the cards. His letter sits in the dark, a final, impotent testament to his character, while we live our lives out here in the light.